Hello dear students! It's another fun-filled day of learning here in Musikasyon. Hatid ng musika ay kaalaman at inspirasyon. This is a place where you are welcome to join me in exploring the interesting history of music and be inspired as we learn and listen to the music of the past. This is Teacher Jen, your guide in discovering the wonderful world of 20th century music. As a recall of our past lesson, complete the music Venn diagram by writing down the differences and similarities between Impressionism and Expressionism in music. Write a description on the left side if it describes Impressionism, and for the right side if it describes Expressionism. If you think that the description both applies to Impressionism and Expressionism, write it in the middle. I'll give you 60 seconds to answer. Are you ready? Let's answer. For the first characteristic, it is a movement in music in the early 20th century. Correct! It both describes Impressionism and Expressionism. For the second characteristic, it is a style that conveys mood and atmosphere. If your answer is Impressionism, you are right. For the third characteristic, the music focuses on strong emotions. Yes, it describes the music of Expressionism. For the fourth characteristic, it is a reaction against the previous styles of music. It both describes Impressionism and Expressionism. For the next characteristic, it gives emphasis on orchestration. Right! It describes the music of Impressionism. Lastly, the key feature is atonality, or no central key in music. Yes, it describes the music of Expressionism. Well done, young artist! You are now ready to discover the next style of music. At the turn of the 20th century, experimentations with emerging electronics led to the first electronic musical instruments. Can you name some electronic musical instruments? You've probably thought of electric guitar, electric bass, and electronic drums or drum pad. But before these instruments took the limelight in the world of electronic music, let's get to know the roots of this style of music. It's time for a rewind to the world of electronic music. Welcome to our Throwback Jam session, but before we start playing music, let me ask you this. Do you still enjoy listening to some songs from the past? The oldies but goodies? These tunes, do they sound familiar? Music of the 20th century has brought many changes and influenced the succeeding styles of music up to now because of technology. Electronic music is any music that involves electronic processing. In our Throwback Jam session, have you noticed that I used the same keyboard sound effects in all songs that I played? That sound effect is called the synthesizer. The first synthesizers back in 1960s were machines that electronically generated and modified sounds with the use of a computer. Synthesizers are capable of producing sounds far beyond the range and versatility of conventional musical instruments like the guitar or violin. Nowadays, synth music has become more popular to songs and dances like this. Other machines used by the composers were amplifiers, tape recorders, and loudspeakers. Have you seen this instrument before? Yes, this is an instrument and this is called the theremin. So how does this work? The theremin creates electromagnetic fields that create sounds at different pitches when the musician moves his or her hands around it. Theremins create a high, warbling sound most famous for its use in 1950s horror and science fiction movies. Did you know that some of the popular bands in 1960s used theremin in their music? The Beach Boys used theremin in one of their songs titled Good Vibrations. Did you know that the composers also experimented recording different sounds that are heard in the environment, such as the bustle of the traffic, sound of the wind, barking of dogs, strumming of a guitar? This is called musique concrète or concrete music. In musique concrète, the composer is able to experiment with different sounds that cannot be produced by regular musical instruments. Let's now talk about the composers who played key roles in the electronic music style. Our first featured composer for electronic music is Edgard Varèse. Edgard Varèse was considered an innovative French-born composer. He spent his life and career mostly in the United States, where he pioneered and created new sounds that bordered between music and noise. His musical compositions are characterized by an emphasis on timbre and rhythm, and organized sound. Certain timbres and rhythms can be grouped together in order to capture a whole new definition of sound. Varèse's use of new instruments and electronic resources made him the father of electronic music. As an assignment, look for his music on the internet and listen to Ionization and some Intercontemporain. Our next composer is Karlheinz Stockhausen. Stockhausen's music was initially met with resistance due to its heavily atonal content with practically no clear melodic or rhythmic sense. Still, he continued to experiment with musique concrète. Some of his works include Gruppen from 1957, a piece for 3 orchestras that moved music through time and space. Another composition of Stockhausen is Kontakte from 1960. It is a work that pushed the tape machine to its limits. As another assignment, search Stockhausen's Kontakte, listen to it, and tell me your thoughts about it. What can you say about Stockhausen's compositions? Their styles may be unconventional, but it paved way to discovering other innovative and exciting styles of music. Now that you've learned about the innovations in music that took place, it's now time to see if you have learned something from what we have discussed. Write the correct answers on a sheet of paper. Ready? Number 1. It is a style in music involving the use of machines like tape recorders and synthesizers. The correct answer is electronic music. Number 2. He was the father of electronic music. The correct answer is Edgard Varèse. Number 3. It creates electromagnetic fields that create sounds at different pitches when the musician moves his or her hands around it. The correct answer is theremin. Number 4. His music was known due to its heavily atonal content. The answer is Karlheinz Stockhausen. Lastly, it is a music that uses the tape recorder and sounds are arranged in different ways. The correct answer is musique concrète. Did you get all the answers correctly? Well done! Let's have a recap of what we have discussed today. Remember that electronic music is any music involving electronic processing. Composers use electronic machines such as synthesizers, amplifiers, tape recorders, and loudspeakers to produce new sounds in music. The compositions of Edgard Varèse are characterized by an emphasis on timbre and rhythm, while the compositions of Karlheinz Stockhausen are characterized by atonal content. Nowadays, electronic music is produced from a wide variety of sound resources. from sounds picked up by microphones to those produced by electronic oscillators, complex computer installations, and microprocessors that are recorded on using softwares and then edited into a permanent form. Over time, electronic music has continuously evolved and developed, resulting to having broader genres under electronic style like house music, techno, downtempo, EDM, and many more. While we all tend to like a certain genre more than the others, we cannot deny the fact that electronic music appeals to people who love experimenting with beats, like the music producers. And to me, as someone who also loves beats, electronic music has added many possibilities to the way music can be made. The amount of songs that can be composed using DAWs or digital audio workstation and other synthesizers is absolutely incredible. Also, the rhythms involved in this style of music, especially in EDMs, are by nature very danceable and uplifting. That concludes our lesson for today. I hope you had fun while learning. Be ready because in our next episode, we are going to discover one of the most intriguing styles of music in history. Are you excited? You will know why, so stay tuned. Once again, this is Teacher Jen, your guide in discovering the wonderful world of 20th century music. Always remember, there is music in you. And the most powerful instrument that you have is that passion to keep learning. See you in the next one, only here in Musikasyon. Hatid ng musika ay kaalaman at inspirasyon.